Yo, 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 what's going on, faithfuls? The Nothing But Niners crew is back. Mike and Nick are here to bring you guys a little teaser for tonight's show. And we're just going to shoot the shit, man. We just want to sit back. We want to talk to you guys. We want to talk to each other. But we decided, you know what? Instead of just talking on the phone, let's let you guys listen to the conversation. Let's talk some 49ers and see what you guys think. So before we get down to all that, we got to let you guys know where to follow us. Make sure you guys go to the website. It is nothingbutniners.com. There you're going to find a bunch of great articles written by a bunch of great people. You're also going to see our social media handles. You can follow us on Twitter and Snapchat. That is nothing but the number 9, ERS. And then you can also hit us up on Facebook and Instagram, and that is nothing but Niners. All right, guys, we're everywhere you want to be. All right, I am 49ers Mike _NF. My man Nick is 49er Faithful 365. And also, last but certainly not least, don't forget about the podcast. The podcast is on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud. It's everywhere. I'm not kidding. It's everywhere. Check out the podcast, guys. Give us some 5-star reviews and all that good stuff. And yes, this is not the final show for the night. We are going to do another show tonight, but right now we were bored. We were like, you know what? Let's just talk to everybody. Let's talk to each other and let everybody see what we talk about. So, Nick, what's going on, baby? How you feeling over there?
Feeling so-so, but I'm excited, man. OTAs are back. We're going into these mini camps or whatever you want to call them now, OTAs. I'm really excited about what we have this year right now, man. We know that we've faced some injuries, things like that, but after listening to some of these pressers, man, I'm super excited. I know that I keep telling myself all the time I'm not going to listen to the media. But I never said I wasn't going to listen to the players. Man, I'll tell you what, out of all the pressers, man, the most excited one I'm about is Chris Kocurek. Like, he is literally probably my favorite so far. I think this guy's going to be a huge addition to us, man. Huge. You there?
Yep. I was on mute. My apologies. I do agree with you, man. He's you're right. His was probably one of the best ones for sure. He's got this like mentality about him. Like, I'm going to get the best out of these guys, and I'm not going to make them overthink this. They're just going to go play football. They're just going to go be good football players, right? And so that's exciting to me, man. You know, we killed Jim O'Neill for having guys read and react. We couldn't wait to get away from that. And now we're going to get away from it even more in this new system here with pass rushers. So it's very exciting. Like I said, Solomon Thomas is, so far, of the ones that happened this past week or so, Solomon Thomas might be my favorite one because he's just got me pulling for him. You all know I've been anti-Solomon Thomas since the day we drafted him. But I'm pulling for the guy now, man. He's got a good story now. He's got the emotions behind it and everything. And not for nothing, he's got the physical attributes. His arms, you see the video with him holding the bag for the other defensive lineman to hit it? This dude's arms are the size of my head. And ladies and gentlemen, I wear a size 8 fitted hat. I've got a big ass head. His arms are the size of my head. This dude is a monster. I would love to unleash Solomon Thomas to let him stop thinking and just go out there and play some football, you know? So that's what I'm looking forward to. But we're going to talk about all of that stuff here, man. I mean, it's really, really exciting. There's a lot of guys on. Go ahead, Nick.
He looks like he slimmed down a lot. Like he looks like, I don't know. I don't want to say baby fat because obviously it's not baby fat, but he looks like he slimmed down a little bit, man. He's toned up a little bit. His biceps look a little bit bigger. His arms look a little bit bigger. But that was the biggest thing that I took from Chris Kocurek was the fact that when he was talking about Solomon Thomas, he said that Solomon has all the attributes to do things. He just kind of – and if you watch that interview with Solomon Thomas and his mom, the interview that they did, I forget who it was for. It might have been for ESPN or something like that, but they were talking about how he lost his best friend in high school before going on to college to play football, where he was always a soccer player, moved on to the football field or whatever. But he says in that video, he's like, the biggest problem that I have is I try to be a perfectionist. He said, I overthink things so much. And then Chris Kocurek came out and said, The only thing I want Sally to do is I want to take everything and crunch it into one and just let him play with his hair on fire and just do certain things to where he doesn't have to think as much. So catching that one video with him with ESPN and his mom where he says he's a perfectionist, he tries to be perfect, and they asked him about, being drafted so high, and he's like, man, I was just trying to be perfect. Like I was trying to be, kind of like what Adrian Colbert said. I was trying to be somebody else that I wasn't. But he said the problem with that whole thing is that he overthinks everything. And I know how that goes because I am like that. I overthink. I think about words before I'm going to say them. And sometimes I spit the wrong words out. Sometimes I do, things like that. But that was the biggest thing I took from Chris Kocurek about Solomon Thomas was Solomon, whether he's playing inside or outside, if he only has a few certain things to do, he's going to play with his head, his hair on fire and fast. He's just going to be able to play fast. He doesn't want to have to think. He doesn't want to have to do anything like that. And it's just go after the quarterback. And that's your job. And stop the run on the way to the quarterback. So that was the biggest thing I took from that interview about Solomon.
And you could see that those guys were in sync. The messages, they went from one interview to the other. So they're listening to each other. And not just the ESPN interview, the one that he did with the 49ers press. He echoed the same exact thoughts, I've been overthinking this entire time. I just want to go out there and play. And so it was really good to hear him say that and then hear it echoed by his defensive line coach and Chris Kocurek. The other thing that was really cool about the Thomas interview was listening to him talk about how he's going to control the guards on the inside when they use him as a pass rusher on the inside. I get to use my speed and athleticism to make them respond to what I'm doing. Instead, this goes even further into the whole read and react thing. You don't have to see what they're doing anymore. Now it's make them respond to what I'm doing. I'm going to be on the attack. And that goes back to what we were talking about when Kocurek first came here, and he said that we're going to play the rush on the way to the passer. This all supports each other. It's one big circle and is really, really good when you pick up the small parts of the conversations that all echo the same things. That lets you know that the team, as well as the coaching staff, are on the same page. We haven't seen that kind of cohesiveness here in a long time. And I'm saying a long time. I'm probably talking even before the Harbaugh days. Because during the Harbaugh days, there was still a little bit of I'm not going to say opposite ends, but there were some statements that were made that I was like, well, that's not what that guy just said. You know what I mean? So it's really good to see them all on the same page and lockstep and really ready to rock out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you. It just seems like, between all the pressers and things like that, man, and even with the D Ford presser last week, Matt Barrows or somebody asking, the same questions about Nick Bosa, and it's just like, well, how does he fit in with the locker room? How does he do this or how does he do that? And everybody has been talking about what a good teammate Nick Bosa has been for all of you guys that were worried about that whole situation. Nick Bosa has been a extraordinary teammate. I saw somebody post something on his on their Instagram today. I can't remember who it was. And Bosa was eating some ribs. It looked like I don't know if it was ribs or if it was lamb meat. And it was like pink and something. And he's like, he said, you like eating pink meat or something like that, right? As Bosa's taking a bite on his Instagram. And I'm like, what the is going on here right now? But you could tell that these guys get along. And that was the big thing. Like he's not sitting on a lunch table by himself, like school days like that. And you hear D Ford say, social media to us doesn't mean anything. You come in here, you work. And so far, Nick Bosa has done nothing but work hard, even though he's not participating and losing those reps. Mentally, he's a smart kid and he's watching and he's learning. And that's what Chris Kocurek was saying. Bosa is, he's missing that mental part of it for like physicality, snap wise, but he has to go in right now, watch this tape, watch, think of him being lined up and learning on these plays, where he's going to be, what he's going to do, how he's going to react, things like that. And it really comes down to tape right now for Nick Bosa. So, which I was glad to hear that, players and teammates were talking good about Bosa. There's no issues there. And I'm just ready for this season to start already, man.
Don't rush the season, bro, because it's gonna be here, and then when it's here, it's gonna be gone before you know it. Then we're gonna be looking forward to 2020 already. I don't want to rush it. Let's take time and enjoy day by day what's happening right now here. All right. So Nick, you're talking about Nick Bosa. He's one of the guys who cannot participate right now. He's someone who's out there, and we really want him to get out there. It's OTAs. It's not that big of a deal, but it's really important, right? We saw these guys hitting pads. We saw how good that Contavious Street looked like, an absolute monster out there. Explosive first step, powerful hands, just very like he's going to be someone on passing downs that I think is going to wreak havoc. He's going to be amazing on passing downs because when he's got the green light, he goes with authority. And if you watch all the videos of the guys hitting the pads, he was probably the most impressive. Him and D Ford. I like D Ford's first step also. But I think Contavious Street just brings a little bit more power. But you talked about Nick Bosa. There's a couple of other guys who are not quite back to practice yet. Who are you most looking for? Well, let's. I don't know how many you have there, but let's name a couple of guys. I know that there's Nick Bosa. I know that there's Jason Verrett. I know that there's Jalen Hurd. I know that there's McKinnon. I know that Breida's limited. He's doing like some of the things, but not like not 11 on 11s or 7 on 7s. He's doing some of the stuff. What are some of the other players that are kind of limited right now? And who are some of the players that are limited right now, but not quite up and running yet that you're looking forward to? Not even that you're looking forward to. Just tell me, give me a list of names because I only got a couple, but I know Matt Burrows tweeted out and was talking that there was like 20 guys that aren't participating in practice right now. I'm not saying we got to come up with all 20. I'm sure some of them are like down the line, but I know Jason Verrett is one, Nick Bosa is another, Jalen Hurd is another. We got 2 running backs in Breida and McKinnon that aren't participating right now. Oh, I'm sorry, 3, Raheem Mostert. Can you think of anybody else right now?
Off the top of my head, you said Jalen Hurd. You said Garrett Selleck. Garrett Selleck was one of them who can't be cleared till training camp. Richard Sherman is back out there. Jason Verrett's not practicing. I'm kind of interested to see what he has once he comes back. There's been good talks about Akello and how he's looked, but I'm not going to feed into all that stuff right now, especially from our media. Who else? Obviously we don't have Peter T anymore. We talked about that. While
you're thinking, I'm going to throw a little monkey wrench at this. Now, guys, Nick and I don't do a lot of pre-planning before we do a show. We come up with some topics, some general topics, and we like to get each other's raw reactions to everything. By the way, for anyone wondering, this is a Cohiba. Mike is smoking a Cohiba tonight. And this is one of the first cigars I've had that has plume on it. I don't know if any of you guys out there smoke cigars and know what plume is, but a couple of years ago, I had a humidor full of cigars that I thought were molded. So I threw them out because I wasn't heavy into smoking cigars, but people were giving them to me. And I was taking care of the humidor, and I opened it up, and there was all these little white specks all over it, and I thought it was mold. So I threw them all away. And my uncle asked me about, did you try that cigar I gave you a while back? And I said, no, I threw it away. He was like, why? And I was like, because it was mold on it. It was like little white specks. He's like, no, that's plume. That's the good stuff. That's what you want. That's what you want. This is the first cigar that I've had that I have actually watched be processed all the way through and get some plume on it. So I'm excited. This is a Cohiba. I don't know if you guys can see the ring there, but it's a Cohiba. It had some plume on it. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is really hard to pull on. Really hard to pull on. But Nick and I don't do a whole ton of pre-production before the videos, but this is going to be a real monkey wrench. This is something that's going to catch Nick completely off guard. And I want to get his raw reaction. So, guys, make sure you are locked in and looking for Nick's reaction here. Look at his facial expression. Nick, pay attention. All right? I'm going to ask you a question here, and I want Nana's reaction. Here we go. What if I told you that I have from a very reliable source with firsthand knowledge of what happens at every practice that Donte Johnson looks like one of the best corners on the roster right now? What's your feeling on that, Nick? Say something so the camera goes to you.
Nah. Okay. I don't know what to say. Like I said, I'm not buying into.
You're not buying it?
I'm not buying into it, man. Like this
But
guy was. Look, this guy was always good. You know, we've talked about this before. This guy was always good with short and intermediate routes. Anything past 10 yards, this guy will get destroyed or a penalty. So if he hasn't fixed that, I still feel the same about him.
Okay, now, let me play some devil's advocate. Now, one, this is not a media guy that told me this information. This is true insider information here, okay? Now, what if I told you short to intermediate routes are all that we're really going to need this year because of our pass rush? Does that change your mind on the value of our New Jersey guy, Donte Johnson? Because short to intermediate route, you just said yourself, he's been good there. I'm telling you now that he's even better there now. And we know about the pass rush that we should have between Bosa, between Ford, and between Buckner. We should have a really good pass rush this year. What if I told you that that's all we really need to worry about this year? Does that change your opinion on Donte Johnson? And would you be mad? Now, this is all hypothetical, guys. We don't know how it's going to play out. Would you be mad if he made the team, but he was one of our better short to intermediate outside corners on the roster this year? Because I can tell you that while you're thinking about the answer, I can tell you that based off of our last video, you didn't want this guy making the 53-man roster. And there's a lot of faithful who feel that way, and rightfully so. We saw what he was doing. Like you said, all the tons of penalties, and if it wasn't a penalty, he was getting burnt. So either way, it was a big gain for the opposing team. It was a big gain for the offense. We understand all that. But what if I tell you now that because of our pass rush, we don't really need the deep corner, the deep coverage guy? Would that make you feel better about Johnson making the roster?
The only reason it scares me, look, I mean, if he's a reserve, fine. But the only thing that scares me is none of our guys stay healthy. So that means we would see him some point in the year, right? He's not better than Akello Witherspoon. Whether Akello has a bad year or not, he's still not better, athletically talented-wise, better than Akello. He's not better than a Quan Williams. He's not better than a Richard Sherman. Even at Richard Sherman at 70%, he's not better than Richard Sherman. He's not better than a Jason Verrett if healthy. Right now, yes, he might be better than Jason Verrett because Jason Verrett's not healthy. But if you get a healthy Jason Verrett back, he's not healthy. That's 4 guys right there that I named. He's not better than. That's not counting what we see out of young guys. You know, like
But what I'm saying is, what if he is better? I'm saying, what if he's one of our better guys in short to intermediate? That's my specific question. Not overall, not down the field. I do agree with you that down the field, guys like Akello, guys like Kawan can recover better. I'm not so sure about Richard Sherman because we know he's lost a step, but I'm not. What if he's one of our better guys? What would you be mad if he was a top 4 corner on the team?
I wouldn't.
And 4, and now I'm saying 4. Think about this. Right now, we think our top 4 are going to be Sherman, Verrett, Williams, and Akello Witherspoon. If I'm telling you that he's better than one of those 4, are you willing to be like, all right, cool, let's do this?
I'd be hectic. Like I'd be like weirded out by it. And the reason I say that is because his contract expired with us and the Niners didn't bring him back, right? So those guys were so he had to do a ton to beat out those 4 guys in my eyes, right? And this is where it goes back to where I've talked to you before about credit with Kyle Shanahan. Is he really the better guy, or is he just keeping him for another reason, right? Bringing him back, right? So the same thing goes when we talk about, and we'll get into this tonight, the Nick Mullens and CJ Beathard stuff. To me, it goes back to where this is where I lose credibility for Kyle Shanahan. Is Kyle Shanahan really doing what's best for this team, or is he just doing it because of pieces he likes? So obviously he likes Donte Johnson because he brought him back, right? So it wasn't a clear cut, I don't like you, this is why you're not here, we're not re-signing you, you don't fit what we're doing. Obviously he fits what we're doing because of the fact that he's played in the system. But I would have to, like, I don't think I'd be mad if you tell me that he's better than somebody at first, but if somebody goes down and he comes in and plays and he's not better than that person, then I would be upset. Because I have to trust the coaching staff at first.
What if I tell you that regardless of how good he was or how bad he was, the right thing for the coaching staff to do was to get rid of him? And I know that sounds crazy, right? But if you draft a guy and you want to develop that guy and see that guy get better, so I'm talking about the Tavarius Moore, I'm talking about the DJ Reed, and you don't have enough spots available, so he's the guy that you have to cut. I mean, isn't that the right thing for this team to do? You have to evaluate these guys in the full season, see if they get better. You know, you don't expect them to walk in on day one and be better than Donte Johnson, but you have to see if they are. So you have to cut a guy like Donte Johnson to see if the other guys are better. So what if that's what the Niners did, and now they realize, wow, we made a mistake.
But that's the thing, like they didn't cut him. They just didn't bring him back.
Right. No,
so
I get that.
So if you thought that you would still bring him to camp to see if he's better than those guys.
No. That's the thing, because in order to do that, you have to extend him as opposed to just letting him walk. Let him walk. Let's see if these guys are better. Okay, these guys aren't better. Let's bring them back now. There's a difference, because if he was under contract and they cut him, then that is the team admitting that they think the other guys are better, right? You with me so far? Okay, so they never did that. You guys couldn't see when Nick shook his head in agreement. So if he's under contract, let's say he had 1 year left, but the Niners say, you know what? No, we're going to let you go so we can see what these rookies can do, or we think these rookies are better. That wasn't the case though. His contract was up. We're not going to extend him. Why? Because we just drafted 2 other guys to play in the secondary. So let's see what these 2 guys can do. Every football team should do that. Do you agree with me still so far? You draft 2 guys in the secondary. You know what Donte Johnson is and isn't already. So let's see what our new guys have. Let's not extend him. We just drafted 2 guys because we expected him to leave. You think that's the right move, right?
But this is my thing. If you're drafting somebody, you would hope that he's better than somebody you could extend.
That's what I'm saying. But you don't know that because you haven't seen him in action yet. But it was right after the draft.
I'm saying, just by tape, Donte Johnson has the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is college tape versus pro tape is different. We hadn't seen any of these guys in the pro system. We never saw DJ Reed in the pro system. We never saw Moore in the pro system. We saw what Johnson can do. All right, cool. Johnson, we see you. We recognize it. Great. But we signed these 2 guys. We're not going to offer you an extension yet. If these 2 guys are flops, maybe we'll bring you back. Oh, shit. Seattle signed him already. He's with Seattle now. Their hands were tied. They couldn't bring him back even if they wanted to. So now the season goes on. They play their games. Maybe, I'm not saying that Moore or Reed, but maybe Exum. You know what I mean? Maybe Mabin. Maybe those guys aren't what we thought they were. And Donte Johnson was the better guy to have all along.
But do you really believe that?
It's
that's the question. Do you really believe that? You've seen these guys play
personally?
And
I personally?
Yeah. I
would take Donte Johnson over Mabin any day of the week.
Maybe, yes. But I'm talking. You didn't say Mabin's name before. You said Moore.
No. I know. I was using those 2 guys because you're losing 1 guy in the secondary in Donte Johnson, but you drafted 2 guys in the secondary in Mabin and Reed. That's what I'm saying. So you can't bring him back and expect those 2 guys to still make the roster. You gotta let those guys make the roster. But now that you kept a guy like Mabin, who was still under contract. They didn't keep Mabin because he was better. They might have just kept him because he was under contract still. But now that that's all over, we can see Mabin was worse than Johnson. Let's bring Johnson back, and maybe he takes Mabin's spot.
You know I'm not a fan of Mabin, but Mabin definitely played a lot better down the stretch than he did in that Green Bay game, in the first game that he came back. And I still would not say that Donte Johnson is a clear-cut better player than him. I think they're probably on the same level, bro.
No, that's where we disagree. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine because this is just opinions. We don't know for sure. But I would disagree with you there. I would say that if I had to choose between Mabin and Johnson, to me, Johnson is obviously better. The thing is, Johnson's not better down the field. And because we didn't have a pass rush, down the field was more important to us the last couple of years. This year, I don't think that's going to be the case. Donte Johnson in short to intermediate routes was a stud. That's where those 2 pick sixes happened. It was the short to intermediate routes. That's where he can make plays on the ball. That's where he can bully guys at the line of scrimmage. That's where he can use his length to his benefit. Down the field, that all gets erased. Right now, we're expecting and anticipating that pass rush to get home and force quick throws, short to intermediate routes for everybody. No one's going to be calling plays that are 30-yard passes down the field. No one's hitching once or twice. We heard Robert Saleh talk about that when he talked about pressure. I'm getting into tonight's show. I'm gonna pull it back. But we heard Robert Saleh talk about that. We heard Robert Saleh talk about that specifically, where quarterbacks would drop back and hitch 2 times, 3 times, and then take a shot down the field because our pass rush wasn't getting home. We specifically heard Saleh mention that, right? That's not going to happen this year, we hope, or not often, because of the improved pass rush. And so if that's the case, suddenly Donte Johnson's value increases. That's all I'm trying to put in the minds of people.
But this is, and here's my question. Should somebody's value boost to be better because of the what if we have this? No, it shouldn't.
I think it should. Because you play for your team. You can't, if we're the Saints, the Niners draft a different way. But we're the 49ers. So we draft a guy like Jalen Hurd in the 3rd round, right? And a lot of people will say, oh, you could have got this guy, you could have got that guy. But what if Jalen Hurd is that missing piece, right? You have to draft for your current roster, not for overall.
Right, but we're not talking about drafting. I'm just saying we shouldn't say Donte Johnson goes from a mediocre player to above average. If our pass rush works, we should have a guy who's going to be average with or without a pass rush.
All right. So true or false? Donte Johnson is above average in short to intermediate areas. True or false? Come on.
True.
Be honest. True, right? Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Now the dynamic of our team's needs has changed. That's all I'm saying. The dynamic has changed. Last year, we needed guys who can cover deep because we couldn't get to the quarterbacks. This year, it's not as much. I'm not saying it's not a need. I'm saying it's not as much as a need. So suddenly, Donte Johnson's value to this specific roster is different. That's what I'm saying. That's how my mind is taking it.
Right, but that's what I'm trying to ask you because we haven't seen this pass rush on the field yet. So it's still a what if. It is still a what if. Right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay, so
absolutely.
It's still a what if. So we can't boost. If I go out and say, okay, now I see this pass rush. Now this system fits Donte Johnson and what he needs to do because he's good at intermediate, close routes, anything below 10 yards. But if the pass rush isn't getting there, he's just as dookie as he was before. So we're basing this off what ifs.
Right.
We haven't seen this pass rush yet.
But the team can't go into this season with that mentality. I'm going to tell you why. If the team is going to go into this season with the mentality that we picked up a Bosa, we picked up a D Ford, but our pass rush isn't going to get better, then that means that they're acknowledging before the season even starts that they haven't improved the team. The team is going into this 2019-2020 season under the premise that we've improved the pass rush. And so if you've improved the pass rush, then what's the next step? You have to improve on the guys that are going to suit your needs going forward. If the pass rush is better, which is what they think based off of the people that they've acquired in Bosa and Ford, then now you have to adjust accordingly. We don't need guys to cover 30 yards down the field anymore. We need guys that are going to cover really, really well in the first 3 seconds of a snap. That's Donte Johnson, bro. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that I don't want you to agree with me. I want to put that bug in your ear and in the ear of everyone else. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm not. But this is what scares me. So you're sitting there saying that this pass rush should make Donte Johnson a better player, right? But it should also make the guys that we already had on this roster better. So why do we need to go out and get other people to make it okay for Donte Johnson, but it's not okay for what we had on the roster if this pass rush is in?
Because not every corner is the same corner. Some guys are better down the field. Some guys have better recovery speed. Some guys are a lot better in press. You can press really well, but if you press and the wide receiver gets off you, now all of a sudden you're on the island by yourself down the field, and it's not the same. That's where Donte Johnson struggled. But he can press at the line, and then he can get there early on, and that's what's important now. I think that's what the team is thinking. What's up? I see you want to say something. What is it?
I'm just going to say either way, I hope I'm right on this fact because I don't want to see Donte Johnson on the field because the only way he's touching the field is if injury. So I don't want. He's not better than the guys that I want starting. And if the starters are there, then this is it's a moot point. Like it really is because I just don't. Like I said, I don't think it's so much of bringing. It's so much of the player. I think more of it bothers me that the team went backwards with something instead of going forward with somebody that they don't know or bringing in to learn. When you're at the beginning, you're in May. It's not like you're mid-season. You can bring somebody in here to teach this system to be a good backup. So if you don't think of any player so Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch say all the time, the players we sign, we're trying to get better and every day, right? If you don't think that he's better than what you have already, that's where I'm lost. Why go backwards? But like I said, either way.
So then with that same logic, why do you think they brought Donte Johnson back? You got to give me a reason now. Now you got to give me a reason.
I have no idea. I'm literally
Come on, Nick.
clueless. I'm telling you, I'm literally clueless as to why we went backwards.
Because they realized their mistake and they're trying to improve on it. That's why. They have to. That's the only logic behind it, right? Come on now. Like, just from a logical standpoint. Maybe it's like, oh, shit, we should have kept this dude. It's got to be the reason, right? What's the other reason? As opposed to some other random that they think could do
backup, like a backup plan. I don't know. You didn't bring him here to start. I don't even think you brought him here to compete for starting reps.
Maben or Johnson? Give me Johnson. You know
what
I mean?
I like Maben at the end of the stretch. I liked Maben. He didn't play bad.
But Johnson played well in a lot of times in the 4 years we saw him here. Johnson had a lot of good film. He got exposed and teams took advantage of him down the field. They would put the guy on his side that was going to go down the field and they exposed him for that one weakness. Now maybe the team feels like, well, they can't expose it now because they can't get downfield on us. The quarterbacks are going to be in trouble. That's all I'm saying now.
Right, but what would you, if you were the GM and you say, okay, this guy has a problem 15 yards and past compared to 15 yards and in, he's already been on his team. You know that you can't work on those struggles. To base it all off of a what-if pass rush, which I'm not saying our pass rush isn't going to be good, but right now, no matter how you look at it, it is a what-if because we haven't seen them on the field altogether. We don't know what it's going to be. We have thoughts of what it's going to be. We have expectations of what it's going to be, but we really don't know what it's going to be. And now I'm not saying that they're going to shit the bed or anything like that because I think they're going to be a good pass rush. But to bring in somebody, like I said, if you're worried about him 15 yards and plus, and you had him here for 4 years and you couldn't fix that, or you had him here for 2 years and you couldn't fix that, you couldn't fix that, then I don't know. Like, Donte Johnson had at least 3 penalties a game and probably 2 or 3 big catches, right? Am I close? I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know what it is, to be honest.
I think that's an over-exaggeration.
You what?
I don't think he had that many penalties a game.
I'm telling you, he probably had at least 2 a game, from what I can remember. I see a lot of people saying, so Spynick Danger says, how did Johnson play with the Seahawks who had a pass rush? He didn't play. He didn't take a single snap. He hasn't been on an NFL field playing football in an NFL game in over a year since he left the Niners. Michael Upshore says Maben got exposed badly. Maben did get exposed. Maben did get exposed in the Green Bay game, and that was the very first game that he came in. But he definitely got better as the season went along. I'm not saying that he's not still dookie. I'm not saying that he's above average. I'm just saying that he got better as the year went along because of injuries.
So you think both of the guys are dookie, but Maben's just better smelling dookie than Donte.
Bro, it's just because I watched 4 years of Donte.
And again, I just want people to think about this. But Nick, come on, you can't tell me that there was no point in time where you were at some point optimistic about that. Again, I don't want you to agree. That's not what the purpose of this is. I just want to put a thought in the back of people's minds that maybe the team is coming to a realization that, damn, we shouldn't have let this guy go, especially now that we got a pass rush. He might be an asset as opposed to a liability. That's all. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you got to agree with me or nothing like that. And no one else either. There's going to be two sides to this coin. There's going to be people who say we should have never picked up Johnson. That should have never happened. And I get that. I respect that. I honestly do respect that. I'm just wondering why they picked him up. This has been something puzzling me since the day it happened. I can't figure it out. And you guys know how I pull for my Jersey guys. This isn't a Jersey thing. If they went backwards with anybody that they released, I'm going to be wondering what the hell was that about? Why did they do that? We saw them pick up and bring back Logan Paulson over and over and over and over and over and over, right? But we know that a lot of those moves where they were cutting him was because another player was injured. We had to get somebody else in that specific spot. Logan Paulson is a guy that's barely going to touch the field. We got to get rid of him. But they let go of, I can't say they let go of Johnson. They didn't re-sign him, but he was available at this year, and then immediately they brought him back. That's got to mean something. In my mind, that means something. And this is the conspiracy theorist in Mike. I'm just trying to figure out why they brought him back. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I can't agree with you. I'm just as puzzled as you are as to why the reasoning is that we brought him back. I'm definitely confused on that whole situation. But like I said, man, in the end, if he makes this 53, then obviously I think he's going to be a backup or a backup to a backup, and maybe play special teams or something like that. But if we see him on the field, then we're in danger because that means we lost 3 or 4 of our starters to allow him to get on the field. So I don't think he's going to ball out. I don't think he's better than what we have starting right now. Even a Jason Verrett, if healthy, I doubt he's even better than him. But I don't know what Jason Verrett is. He hasn't played football in 5 years. So, I don't know.
5 years. You're something else, bro.
Was it 5 years?
I know he's played since then, bro. He's only been in the league for 5 years.
He's played like 1 or 2 full seasons, so that's like 5 years.
He's had an all-pro season within 5 years, but I do get what you're saying though, and we're just having fun, guys.
Don't try to use those all pros against me because they don't mean nothing. Remember?
No. Pro Bowls don't mean anything. All pro does mean something, and that tells me that he's one of the better guys in the league. That's what the Niners are banking on with him. So I just wanted to drop that bug in people's ear just to think about it, and this is not what Nick and I were intending to do. That was a random. What did we just talk like 15, 20 minutes on that? That was just a random thought that I just had right now. And that's why this show is so great, because we have a thought that goes off on a tangent. But what I wanted to ask you about was some of the guys that you were looking forward to coming back off of restrictions and being able to go out there and get busy. That's what this all started about. And that's what this episode was supposed to be about. Have you thought about any more? I know that I had you scrambling and all that stuff, and it's hard to think about 2 things at once, but
bro, you're trying to make me say wrong words here because you're making me think on the thing again.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good. I'm excited to see Jerick McKinnon. Obviously, I'm really excited to see him because to see what he brings to this table. I am excited. I don't want to say I didn't like the pick where he was, but I'm excited for the versatility that Jalen Hurd has, to see where he's used, how he's used, things like that when he comes back. Obviously, I'm a huge Breida fan. I've always been a Breida fan. I'm excited to see that. And, of course, I'm excited to see who wins this backup quarterback spot. Nick Mullens, who should already been crowned, is something else I'm excited to see. He's back. I know that. I know that he's not hurt, things like that. But, so I would say Breida and McKinnon are 2 backfields. Probably Jalen Hurd and Jason Verrett. They're probably the most excited I'm to see how they are.
One of the names I'm most excited about, and you used one of mine. Obviously, you guys saw how hyped I was during the draft video. Jalen Hurd is Mike's guy. Jalen Hurd is my favorite draft pick next to Mitch Wisnowski. But the guy that I'm probably really, really excited to see get back in there and get busy, and OTAs it's not going to be where he can show it. But it's going to be our center. It's going to be Weston Richburg. He has got that mentality that I like in an offensive lineman, but he wasn't able to show it at all last year. Now, I'm going to give him 100% the benefit of the doubt and just assume that the reason he was bad is because of that injury, that nagging injury that no one knew about until the end of the season. Why were you so bad? All of a sudden, all the excuses come out of the woodworks. And that's fine. If that's the case, that's fine. You know, my girls went inside. They left all the toys out here. There's a jump rope. There's a bike. All right, whatever. But I think that one of the guys I'm most excited to see return is going to be our center in Weston Richburg. The offensive line was okay. They were okay. But I think they can take a lot of steps forward. I'm really nervous about a Lincoln Tomlinson. I'm super nervous about him because I don't know how that injury lingers and how that plays for, you know, a 250-plus pound guy. I'm not sure how that's going to play into it. It happened late in the season also, so that's something else I'm nervous about. And I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but is Joshua Garnett? I know the offensive line, defensive line, those guys aren't really out there. But, I mean, how is Joshua Garnett looking? I'm really anxious and excited to see what this offensive line can do when everyone's healthy. I've been waiting for Joshua Garnett to live up to his quote before being drafted since he was drafted. And when he was in there in preseason, in my personal opinion, he was the best offensive guard we had. He beat his guy immediately. He got to the second level and was looking for more guys to hit. But for whatever reason, they gave the nod to Mike Person over and over. I'm hoping that Joshua Garnett comes in there and makes it really hard for the 49ers. We have to remember that the Niners during the season had the opportunity to extend Mike Person, and they did not do it. I'm not saying that Mike Person isn't good. Mike Person was 100% serviceable. But I'm putting Mike Person in the same category that I'm putting Zane Beadles in. Zane Beadles earned his spot, and he was super versatile. Mike Person gets that same nod from me. However, I want to see someone better, and I think that person could be Joshua Garnett. So Joshua Garnett and Weston Richburg, those are my two guys that I'm really, really looking forward to seeing healthy and coming in here and wreaking havoc. I want to see those guys get busy.
I don't think it's so much with health with him. I just think it's mindset with Joshua Garnett. Like, I mean, yes, he had the turf toe and things like that, and he wanted second opinions, and he fought with the team about stuff like that. But I don't think it's all about injury with him. I think there's more of a mindset with him as well as to why he's not competing right. And I don't know, man. Joshua Garnett has me like, look, I was at your house with you watching games and I could see him open up holes and things like that. And when he's on the field, he's decent. But it goes back
No. Don't just say decent. Tell the truth. Don't just say decent. When he's on the field, they run to his side more often than not. And it was for big gains. He's really good when he's on the field. Really good.
No, he is. That's what I'm saying. But he's not like a downgrade of what's there. So I don't understand why this guy isn't getting on the field. And here's another reason. Just like you just said about Person. Person wasn't re-signed until later in free agency. Then they re-signed him. And, you have Joshua Garnett there. Why is it, why are you going out and getting somebody if you have a guy there that can do it? It's the same thing with the Donte Johnson shit. It's exactly the same.
I have an answer for that, believe it or not. So I don't know if you remember during the Jalen Hurd pick, you were like, this was the time to go out and get an interior offensive lineman. I think that's when you wanted us to get a guard. My guy at the time was Nate Davis from Charlotte, the Charlotte 49er. There was McGovern, I think, was still available when we made that pick. There were a couple of guys who were out there, but the team decided to bring back Person instead. And I think that comes down to system familiarity, and we know what we have. We're not going to pick up a question mark and hope that he can play to this standard. We know this guy can play to a certain standard, and that's Mike Person. So I think that's why they brought Mike Person back.
I think, like I said, I think the thing with, and somebody just said this, he said, Mr. Big to Wayne 49er, he said he's not willing to play unless he's 100%. And that's what I was talking about with like his mindset. Like he had his turf toe and he's like, well, I need to go get a second opinion. And, I need to get this looked at or compared to hear what this doctor said to what this doctor said. And that's where I said I think it's something with his mind. It's not so much health with Joshua Garnett. And
I agree with you on that. And let me explain that really quick. Let me tell you why I agree. Normally, when a player goes out to get a second opinion, The team is telling them you're not healthy enough to play. And the player says, let me get a second opinion to prove to you I am ready to play. I am healthy enough. With with Joshua Garnett, it was the opposite. Joshua Garnett felt that he was too injured to play. And Kyle Shanahan and the presser flat out said, I don't know what's going on with him, but I know that he needs to get out there soon. That put a lot of pressure on Joshua Garnett. That's when he went out to get second opinions and all that stuff. So it looked like Joshua Garnett was trying to get out of playing. So I agree with you on, and from that standpoint, that he needs to get the mindset of, listen, bro, get your ass out here and play. Play through the injury. Battle through it. I don't think he has that in him just yet. You know what I mean? So hopefully he realizes that this is a contract year, and just that alone should motivate him to come out and play well. And so I'm looking forward to him getting cleared and coming out and whooping ass this year. I really want to see Joshua Garnett live up to the taking souls comment that he made. You know what I mean? Yeah, they can't see head nod, bro, because it's on me. But that's cool.
Sorry. Yeah, no, somebody was like, I asked the question, are you guys going to answer? I didn't see what the question was, so I was trying to find it. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you on the whole Joshua Garnett thing.
If there's a question in there, just write it again, guys. We didn't see it. We would answer the question. Write it again. We'll try to answer all the questions that you guys have in the chat right now. I can't see the chat. Nick is keeping an eye on that. That's what he does. You guys know I'm not good at multitasking. I'm not good at that at all. But Nick is the man as far as keeping his eye on the group chat. So you guys let him know what you want.
So she asked about Anthony Davis. How come we didn't just bring Anthony Davis back instead of cutting him?
Good question. Because we're good at tackle. Anthony Davis is a tackle. Mike McGlinchey and Joe Staley are the 1 and 2. There's no need for Anthony Davis to be here. There's no trade value for Anthony Davis. You flat out just release him. Plus, you don't want that kind of mentality coming back in the locker room. This guy came back. First, he retired. So think about that for a second. Hey, Anthony Davis, you're under contract. You got a nice extension. You're under contract. You took the guaranteed money and you went home. All right. So you retired. Then you come back out of retirement with under that same contract, right? You earned some more of the making the roster money, and then you retired again at the beginning of the season. Then you retire again after you got that guaranteed money, and then you want to come back again. The Niners aren't going to keep pulling their pants down and let you just ream them. They're not going to keep doing that. And I'm sorry for that being a vulgar analogy, but that's what Anthony Davis was doing. I don't want, nor do the 49ers want, that type of person in this locker room. If you are not about the team, you can't be here. And Anthony Davis has shown us 3 times now that he is all about self. If your money ran out and all of a sudden you're like, damn, Trent Taylor got that kind of money, I'm better than Trent Taylor. I mean, not Trent Taylor, Trent Brown. And we did an interview with Trent Brown. We knew Trent Brown's mindset. You and I talked to Trent Brown, and he was talking about all the work that he was doing in the offseason. He went to the South and was pulling cars as part of his training. You know what I mean? We knew the work that Trent Brown was putting in. Anthony Davis has never shown that kind of commitment to getting better. Anthony Davis was, this is who I am. I'm really good. I'm nasty, which is that mentality that I like in offensive linemen. But, oh, well, I'm going to retire. He took his guaranteed money and he went home. Twice he did that to us.
His mindset was totally not there. And like you said, you know, to me, what it comes down to as well as, A, we're set at tackle. It's not as easy to move from tackle to guard. It's easier to move from guard to tackle if you play guard. But it's not really easy to go to tackle. Like you said, there was no trade value. The dependability wasn't there. You couldn't cut somebody else and say, okay, we're bringing Anthony Davis back. And then 3 weeks into the season, he says, I'm going to retire. Then you're screwed. The whole team is screwed.
And another thing people have to keep in mind is that if we retained Anthony Davis, it's under that same contract that he had already.
Right.
We even if we wanted to bring him back, he had so many millions of dollars in guaranteed dollars. If we retained him, that it wouldn't have made sense for the Niners without knowing who he is. So you have to let him go, and then even if they wanted him, they had to hope to re-sign him, and then bring him back and let him earn the spot. And I don't see him beating out Joe Staley, and I definitely don't see him beating out our first round pick and Mike McGlinchey. So it was the right move for the team to do to let him go.
And I think that's going to hurt. What he did to the 49ers with Harbaugh, Chip Kelly, or Tom Sula, Chip Kelly, whoever it was. I know it was Chip at one point. What he did to the Niners there, that's going to hurt him getting signed by another team. So he may have gotten reinstated, but he may not. It's the same as the Josh Gordon factor. Like a lot of teams, even though he's talented as hell, when he's playing, that a lot of teams will shy away from him just because of that fact.
And not only that, you guys got to remember that Anthony Davis, he's a Jersey guy. Jersey guys like to talk, and he had no problem trashing coaches. He flat out trashed Greg Schiano, who was his coach at Rutgers. He trashed Greg Schiano. He was like, Greg Schiano didn't teach me shit. I earned all that on my own. And that's not the kind of guy that you want in your locker room when you're trying to build a mentality, when you're trying to build a camaraderie in the locker room. You don't want that here. So it's not that we're not saying that Anthony Davis isn't talented, but you don't want him in your locker room, especially when he's quit on your team twice already. Twice.
Yeah, and it's not about talent. It's just about dependability and what he's going to do. So there was another question here, and we'll get on to that real quick. Do you guys think T. Moore will get a serious run at free safety? And that's from the Greek Freak or the Geek Freak. Obviously he's getting some free safety snaps right now. I don't know if that's just because I've seen Adrian Colbert out there though, so I don't know what's going on with that whole situation. If he's not practicing, if he is practicing, if he's practicing with the twos. He played free safety in college. He said the other day it feels good to be home. Maybe with Robert Woods coming in here, said, okay, well, we're not going to keep you at corner. Let's move you to free safety. Jimmy Ward went down, and that allows him to get some snaps. So I think we'll see him at getting those free safety snaps.
So the thing with Tavarius Moore is this: his free safety snaps in college were better than any free safety we have right now on the roster. I'm talking about interceptions. I'm talking about PBUs. I'm talking about tackles. He was just stellar over there. He was an athletic freak. He ran, a 4.4, I believe, 4.5, 4.4. He had a ton of 8 picks, I believe, at the position. He is a guy that a lot of people were hoping to see big things from, but the 49ers decided to move him to corner because of his athleticism and his traits. The traits and the footwork are what told the 49ers that he should be able to go and play corner. I'm not mad at that. A lot of people were killing the 49ers for drafting a guy and moving him somewhere completely different than where he was at. I'm not mad at that. The reason you do things like that is because you feel like if we can take advantage of what this guy can do in shorter areas, which is what moving from safety to corner does in smaller areas, then you can take advantage of it in a big way. I think the Niners were looking to take advantage of his speed. They were looking to take advantage of his size and his mental aptitude. I do think that this is probably a better fit for him than being at corner. Whether or not the Niners leave him there, I don't know. I won't pretend to know what they're saying there. And if you guys want, I can do some digging. I can check with my sources that are there and seeing every single practice, and I can get back to you guys on that. But right now, I don't have an answer for you. I personally hope that the Niners give him a fair and legitimate shot at the free safety spot. And you guys know that I have hitched my wagon to Adrian Colbert. When we re-signed Jimmy Ward, it was Jimmy Ward or Adrian Colbert at free safety. And I hitched my wagon to Adrian Colbert. Nick hitched his wagon to Jimmy Ward at free safety. I don't know how it's going to play out. But if the 49ers give Tavarius Moore a fair shot at the free safety position, I think it could be a really good competition. And no matter who wins it, if they give him a fair shot, if it's a fair, and when I say fair, I mean like the better guy wins the spot. Right now, what we're seeing at the QB2 spot, it's not fair. What we're seeing between Nick Mullens and CJ Beathard, it's not fair because for all intents and purposes, Nick Mullens is a better game quarterback than what CJ Beathard is. He's got a better touchdown to interception ratio. He puts up more yards per game. It is what it is. But they're saying that they're on even grounds. That's not a fair competition, in my personal opinion. I'm not there. I'm not inside the locker room, but to me, Nick Mullens has already earned the QB2 spot. Kyle Shanahan and his coaching staff has said that it's an even competition. Both of them are listed as QB2, and they're just battling it out to see who wins it. I don't think that's fair. If they give a fair shot to Various Moore, I am hoping that he earns reps at that free safety spot, and if he wins it, he wins it. You know, if he's better than Adrian Colbert, then by all means, go to Various. You know what I mean? But I can't say for sure. I'm not there. I don't know what's going on in practices. And by the way, my source for this information is not someone who is there only on days that are open to the media. This is someone who is there day in and day out. And I will check with this person to find out if Tavarius Moore looks better than the other free safeties that we're having run out there on the field. I will check with them, but I don't have that information at this very moment. So I can't answer that question for you guys. I will reach out to my guy. I'll see what he says. And hopefully I have an answer for you guys by the end of the night. At this very moment, I don't have an answer. But I do hope that the 49ers give Tavarius Moore a fair shot at the free safety spot. And if he earns it, give it to him. There's no need to hold back. I want the 49ers. Listen, we know for a fact that Richard Sherman's salary is going to tell us that he's going to start. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Richard Sherman is going to have a starting spot. I said that Richard Sherman didn't look good last year. I said that Richard Sherman wasn't the best corner opposite of Akello Witherspoon or whoever they had over there. I thought Richard Sherman was our third best outside corner last year, not our second best. And in order to be a starter, you have to be one or two. I don't think that was Richard Sherman last year. I don't think that's going to be Richard Sherman going into this year. When I reached out to my source, it's looking like that I'm right. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. I don't know what I should say and shouldn't say, but it's looking like I'm right when I reached out to my source. But salary, draft position, history of the players and all that stuff, politics, it plays a game in the NFL, unfortunately. And if you guys go back and you listen to Eric Crocker's podcast, he told you guys the same exact thing. Unfortunately, politics plays a role in who plays at what position. I'm hoping that the Niners give him a fair shot. We do a fair assessment at the free safety position. I hope that they do the same thing at the corner position. And I want to see the best guys playing on the field when it's time to go ahead and kick ass. So,
and see, that's where I'm not even going to get into the Nick Mullens train. You know how long I've been on the Nick Mullens train. You know, people that watch this.
Wait. Let me just say this, guys, because Nick deserves some credit here. Nick, my guy, Nick, not Nick Mullens, my guy, Nick, that I'm on the show with right now, deserves some credit. From the first preseason game that he saw Nick Mullens, he said to me, off screen, off camera, Mike, Nick Mullens is better than CJ Beathard. Nick said that to me from day one. He said that to me. And I was like, yeah, but Nick, it was against the fourth string guys. You know, it was the end of the thing. He was like, Mike, I'm telling you, this guy is a gamer. Like, he doesn't have the physical attributes, but he is the guy that we want out there in the game. When the game is on, like, that's the guy we want. Nick has been on that train from day one. We saw it in the Oakland game. We saw it in the Raiders game. We saw it in the Broncos game. Those are three games right there that I know Nick Mullens went out and won those three games. For sure. We saw it. My man Nick O'Hara has been on this train since day one of seeing Nick Mullens out there. But CJ Beathard was still QB2 for whatever reason. If it weren't for injuries, we may have never seen Nick Mullens out there. I want the 49ers, the coaching staff, to put their bias to the side and fairly evaluate these guys at who's playing better, not who has more attributes, because CJ Beathard is better when it comes to attributes. He can throw the ball further. He's got better arm strength. He's got better footwork. He's got better throwing motions and mechanics than Nick Mullens, but Nick Mullens is a winner. Nick Mullens is a guy that will go out and average 350 plus yards a game in the pass game. If you ask CJ Beathard to do it, he's a 250 yard guy per game. That's Nick Mullens. Nick has been on it since day one. Hopefully the team evaluates these guys fairly and makes the right decisions, because I honestly believe that this year is the Niners' year. I think that we can make a Super Bowl run if we truly put the best guys out there. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if we do that, I think that this is the Niners' year, honestly. So go ahead, Nick. I know I cut you off 2 or 3 times, but I just wanted to give you your props, because a lot of people give you a lot of shit. You know, a lot of people think that it's Team Mike or Team Nick, and that's not what we're about right now. This is about fair evaluation. Personally, I think that
What is that? Yo, Mike is scared shitless over there right now.
oh, I'm not scared. I got my thing on me. I'm not scared, bro. I'm not scared. I just want to know what that sound is. That's all. I'm trying to figure out if it's gunshots or fireworks. But I'm just saying that you've been on it since day one, and there's guys that we have seen do better than other players that get the nod because of politics. If the 49ers put politics aside, we have a chance to be really, really special this year. And I just hope that we see that. Go ahead, Nick. The floor is yours, bro.
Yeah, I mean, and there's one thing that I think Nick Mullens does do better than CJ Beathard, and that obviously game managing. He's quicker with the ball and making decisions. CJ Beathard definitely has a better arm than him. CJ Beathard might have the best deep ball arm on the team. Yes, I said that. He probably has a better deep ball than Jimmy Garoppolo, from what I've saw. But CJ Beathard is all around. He's not a game manager. He doesn't play safe with the ball, I guess you could kind of say. He kind of, getting sacked. He's throwing the football at the same time. He doesn't. His pocket awareness is really bad. Where Nick Mullens has better pocket awareness, he may not have as good as footwork.
CJ Beathard absolutely has the best deep ball on the entire roster. As far as quarterbacks go, it's not a question. CJ Beathard 100% has the best deep ball. Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullens, CJ Beathard, it's Beathard 100%. He doesn't make the better quick decisions, though. He holds on to the ball too long. So I'm backing you up there, bro. Like it's 100% CJ Beathard as far as the deep ball goes, but that's about it.
Yeah, and he just has a stronger arm than Jimmy. And Jimmy's more of a game managing footwork, throw from all different angles type of quarterback, to where the offense runs off of his momentum, I guess you could say. The way that he plays fast. But CJ Beathard is not that type of quarterback. CJ Beathard needs an open pocket. He needs to know and have time. He needs to have that 4.5, 5 seconds to throw the football. But like you said, Mike, I've been on Nick Mullens' train since day one. I went on Twitter and I said this guy should be starting, for the rest of the season. And people are like calling me crazy because I wanted a practice squad quarterback to be starting. And then all of a sudden, Nick Mullens goes out and does what he does, and then everybody looks like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna save these tweets, because people were calling me crazy names about having wanting Nick Mullens to start over CJ Beathard, literally calling me names. And I was just like, watch this game, man. Like he just, there's things that he does better, and he may not do everything better, but the things that he does better is he protects the football better than CJ Beathard does. He doesn't make as many stupid mistakes. His touchdown to interception ratio is better. His statistics all around are better. And you can say, oh, well, CJ Beathard was playing with this amount of team and this. Guys, if CJ Beathard played with us all last year, and we probably wouldn't have won 4 games. We wouldn't have won those additional 3 games. And look, I hope that that CJ Beathard, and that's where, this is where I get frustrated, and this is where I get upset with the coaches, because this is where the coaches have not instilled that full confidence level in me yet, as in taking the right guy. It should have straight been this year that when asked Kyle Shanahan, will Nick Mullens and CJ Beathard compete for the for the backup quarterback position. Kyle Shanahan should have said right then and there, this is Nick Mullens' spot to lose. But he couldn't. He didn't do that. He literally just put them on the same tier. I see you waving your hand. Go ahead.
Let me jump in really quick. I think that Kyle Shanahan should have said, yes, it's going to be a competition for QB2, but right now, Nick Mullens is our backup quarterback.
Right.
He should have said that. He didn't. Right. He said that both of these guys are QB2, and we're going to let them play it out. That's not fair because Nick Mullens earned the backup spot.
Especially with all the stuff that you heard them saying about Mullens. He logged the most amount of hours on the headset, doing all these type of things for studying, watching film, the way that he just prepares himself and things like that. You've never heard that once about CJ Beathard. Never. And if this is where I'm gonna, this is really gonna turn me to where I'm confident completely in Kyle Shanahan, or I lost all credibility for him. Because if Nick Mullens comes out this year and he's the third string guy and goes back to the practice squad, or is just a third string back, I'm going to lose a lot of credibility with Kyle Shanahan.
Here's my concern. Nick Mullens is no longer practice squad eligible. From my understanding, I could be wrong, but my understanding is that after 6 games starting, you're not practice squad eligible. He's not that anymore. He started 6 or more games already. So we're going to be forced to keep 3 quarterbacks if it's still going to be a competition going into the season, which means it's one less, to me, significant roster spot. Nick Mullens and CJ Beathard could be the decision between Trent Taylor or Kendrick Bourne as opposed to keeping them both. You get what I'm saying? We shouldn't be in that position. We should know who our backup quarterback is going to be definitively. You get what I'm saying? So I don't want to see that. I want to see the team keep 2 quarterbacks, just like Kyle Shanahan has done his entire career. Just keep 2 and 1 guy on the practice squad. Right now, Spate is our practice squad eligible quarterback. Not Nick Mullens, not CJ Beathard. Both of those guys have started too much. So I want to see us do that. But don't make us cut someone who you think can contribute. Listen, you are a Trent Taylor guy. Trent Taylor has been your dude. I have been on the Kendrick Bourne train. Both of those guys bring something to the table. We both agree on that, right? But don't make us cut one of those guys so you can keep a third quarterback. That doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. There's no trade value for CJ Beathard because he's only won 1 game out of 8 or 9. Like it's not worth it to me.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the only reason I think you keep 3 quarterbacks this year is because of Jimmy coming back off of injury. And if something happens to CJ Beathard, then you have nobody else. So if Nick Mullens isn't practice squad eligible, then Nick Mullens' contract is up at the end of the year. So if you're keeping him here, then you're like, okay, well, these guys can compete all year long or do whatever they have to do. We have to make sure that Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy. And that's the only reason I think we keep 3 quarterbacks this year. And I think maybe like a Wilton Spate goes to the practice squad. But like I said, it just comes down to I want to see the balls that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have with the whole CJ Beathard thing. And I want them to be, as Adrian Colbert said, fucking genius. I want to see the geniusness in them, and I want to see them name the right quarterback. And I don't know, man.
Nick made up a word and said geniusness.
Fucking genius.
But you said geniusness.
Well, yeah, whatever. Genius. So, like I said, I want to see them to be the genius and go with CJ Beathard right off the bat. Like you said, like I said, I agree with you. I think in the beginning of the year, Nick Mullens showed you he can run this offense at a higher level than CJ Beathard, and you should have just said they're going to be competing, but right now, basically, it's Nick Mullens' job to lose. He is the second string quarterback going into the season. Yep. And that's the way it should have been said. It shouldn't have been said like, well, they're both going to start off on even ground, and we'll see who comes out on top. Because CJ Beathard has played in 10 or 11 games, and he's 1-10 or 1-11, where Nick Mullens, and it's not even just about wins. Nick Mullens comes in, and he's 4-8 or whatever he is.
Yards per game, touchdown and interception ratio, like their interceptions, like there is no measurable statistic that CJ Beathard is better than Nick Mullens. I mean, other than shots down the field, like long passes, but that's not enough because that's not Kyle Shanahan's game. That's not Shanahan's game. So there's no reason for Mullens to not be the guy. I'm with you on that. I'm not going to let people hang you out there. I'm going to ride with you on that. It should 100% be Mullens' job. He should be QB2, 100%.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And if he's not, like I said, I lose a little bit of credibility with Kyle Shanahan. This is really the move that is going to make me completely confident in Kyle Shanahan or lose credibility for him. Because, I said it that whole time when we talked about Nick Mullens. Well, CJ Beathard's not going to get benched. He's not going to play. He's not going to get cut because he's a third-round pick, and plus he's actually more than that because you traded up to get him. So he's worth 2 picks.
Exactly.
So are we keeping players around because of where they were drafted, or are we keeping players because they're the best for this team? And that's what I need to see. If you go and you choose Nick Mullens as the backup quarterback, then I will get on the train with you and say you are for what's best for this team, not for where players were drafted. So that's something big that I really am paying attention to this year. You're on mute.
No, I know. I'm saying we got to wrap it up because my phone's going to die.
Yeah,
I'm down to 10%. So
no worries.
but yeah, no, like I get you, bro. Like I'm with you 100% there. I will say this: last show, you said something about losing faith in Kyle Shanahan. You specifically said Kyle Shanahan, and it was a defensive player that you were making that decision on.
It was Donte Johnson.
Right. I don't think Shanahan is the one making the defensive player decisions. I know he's a head coach. Don't get me wrong. But if you're going to lose faith in somebody, it should be John Lynch, not Shanahan. I do think that Shanahan's going to do what's best for his offense, no matter what. I don't think that Shanahan's going to say to himself in a room, well, Nick Mullens is better, but we drafted CJ Beathard at a certain position, so we got to keep Beathard on the. I don't think that's him. I think that's more of a John Lynch thing, and so there's a difference. I
got off that a little bit last year because when CJ Beathard became healthy enough to play, he stayed on the bench. Because if you remember, I kept saying, well, even though Nick Mullens just won this game and this game, if CJ Beathard comes back and is cleared to play, is Kyle Shanahan going to take Nick Mullens out and put CJ Beathard back in? Which he never did, which boosted my confidence level in him. And then at the end of the season, or the beginning of the season, when he said they're on evil playing ground and they're even, that's like him coming out and saying, well, Jimmy Garoppolo and CJ Beathard are on the same ground.
But I know that's Kyle Shanahan showing support for his GM. I do think that I think that if anyone's job is in jeopardy, it's the GM, not Shanahan. I think that Jed York knows, and Parag Marathe, I think they both know that Kyle Shanahan is the guy. I think they both know that. But Shanahan, come on, man. Shanahan doesn't have shit to do with the defense. We know that. Come on, Nick. We know Shanahan doesn't have anything to do with the defense. So we can't use Shanahan and hold something against him for a Donte Johnson. You know what I mean? Like that's not fair. He's gonna back his guy because that's what he has to do with the microphone. He has to do that. But I think that on the offense, yeah, I'll give it to Shanahan. I don't like that Shanahan is saying that Mullens and Beathard are on even playing ground. They shouldn't be on even playing ground. Beathard should be working his way up from QB3, not the other way around. It shouldn't be QB2 and QB2. I don't agree with that, but I can't fault him for Saleh and John Lynch thinking that a defensive player is better. That's what you were saying last week, and that's where I think.
Well, I still think Kyle Shanahan has a yes or a no in it. Like I still think
he does, but he's gonna turn it over to those guys. He's gonna be like, all right, who do you think?
I think the drafting and the scouting goes down to John Lynch and maybe Robert Saleh and some of those guys the D-line coach and things like that, and the scouting department. But I still think Kyle Shanahan has a little bit of a say. Maybe it's not 90-10, but it could be, I don't know. I don't want to say 50-50 either. I'll give it more to the defensive side than I would Kyle Shanahan. Maybe 70-30, I would probably say.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm with you. I just want to see them make the right decision, man. Richard Sherman looked like a liability to me last year. That's to me. Richard Sherman like a liability, and I think that we have 2 or 3 corners that are better than Richard Sherman right now. You can blame it on injury. You can blame it on recovery and all that stuff. That's fine. And maybe Richard Sherman is better this year. But at this moment, I don't think Richard Sherman is one of our best 2 corners. I don't see it. I see Richard Sherman as a huge liability. So we're gonna that's the teaser for this for the show that we're gonna do tonight. And about what time is it right now?
9:00 Eastern time. So probably like 11 or so, 12 Eastern time. Knock, knock. Who's there? It's me, Mike. Mike who?
You know, my problem with this is that I hear people screaming. So I'm not sure it's not gunshots. I hear people screaming. Can you hear that on your end?
I can't hear the screaming. I hear that. It sounds like somebody's beating something against your garage.
You hear the pa, pa, pa.
Yeah.
But they're screaming in between all of those noises. But yeah, I don't live in a dangerous area, so I'm gonna assume now Trenton Thunder, they the Yankees AAA team, they play less than a mile away from me. So a lot of the times it's their fireworks from when they win a game and things like that. But either way, anyway, don't hold defensive decisions against Kyle Shanahan. That's what I want to say. Don't hold those things against Kyle Shanahan. If you're gonna hold something against him, make it the quarterback decision, and that's because they traded up to get him. But I want you to keep in mind one thing. Kyle Shanahan told John Lynch, you do not need the trade up to get C.J. Beathard. John Lynch decided to do that on his own merit. Don't hold that against Kyle Shanahan. That's all I'm asking. So let's keep that in mind, and let's move forward with that. And you can say what you want, an undrafted guy that we signed that cost us nothing versus a guy that cost us 2 draft picks, at least 2 draft. We traded up to get C.J. Beathard. They're going to give C.J. Beathard every opportunity. His grandfather is in the Ring of Honor. It's about pedigree. You know, you can say that pedigree doesn't matter, but I'm gonna call BS on that because the Bosa father, the Bosa brother, and then Nick Bosa, the pedigree absolutely means something to these guys. Shanahan is a pedigree guy himself because Mike Shanahan was there, and then people said, all right, well, your son is going to be pretty good too. We can't hold that against Shanahan, but on the defensive side of the ball, I'm not going to attribute that to Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to attribute that to Robert Saleh and John Lynch. So let's just keep that in mind. All right. That's all I'm saying. We'll go forward from there. And tonight's show, you guys are not going to want to miss it because we're going to talk about running backs. We're going to talk about other guys that may or may not be holding their own going forward. That's what I'll say. That's the teaser for tonight's show. And when I say tonight's show, it's going to be in an hour or two. But you guys keep that in mind. That's what Nick and I want to talk to you guys about later tonight. So make sure you have those alert sets. If this is your first time watching, please turn on the notifications. Subscribe and hit that little bell because Nick and I are going to be bringing you guys something that's going to be way different than what you just saw tonight. What you saw right now. We're gonna get to it. So I'm anxious.
Yeah, man. I'm super excited to hear what we got to say about running backs and who's not standing their ground and standing up to what they should be. So, guys, make sure you have those notifications set. Like I said, Mr. Robot says paranormal Niners activity. That's what we're going to go with for now on. So
it's all good, man.
Yeah, man. So, all right. Yeah, I don't got anything else till our next show. So
Yeah, if we say anything else, we're going to be tiptoeing over the lines of what we want to do in the next show, so we're not going to do that. But we hope you guys enjoyed this. Nick and I just wanted to have a conversation. We wanted to make you guys privy to the information Nick and I were discussing, and this is where it all starts. You know, Nick and I, we don't do a lot of pregame stuff. Like I said, we don't say this is my point, this is your point, and this is what I want you to say, and this is what I want to say. We don't do all that. We have a topic, and then we prepare, and then we bring it to you guys. So we hope you guys enjoy it. Right now, we're just gonna see. It's OTAs, and you know, if you guys watch Grant Cohn, Grant's gonna say that OTAs aren't that important. I kind of disagree. I think that OTAs are important. If they weren't, they wouldn't have them. So we're gonna keep you guys to that. We're gonna hold your feet to the fire for it, and Nick and I are gonna break it all down for you guys. We have a couple of other position groups that we're going to delve into, and I hope you guys enjoy it. That's really all I got right now, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Go ahead, Nick. 5%.
All right, guys. Make sure you hit that, like I said, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on all of our avenues, and make sure you come back and set those notifications and check us out later. Hit that like button as well.
Hey, Nick, really quick. We were sending someone to the state of the franchise. Did we select the winner for that?
Anthony Perry.
All right, let's go, Anthony, baby. Let's go, man. State of the franchise. We're gonna be there live and direct. So you guys make sure you're tuned in. We're gonna bring that to you live, just like other beat writers are gonna do. But we're gonna have an inside guy there from the fans' perspective, not from a press person's perspective. So
yeah, we'll do. I think I'm going to have Anthony do some videos with some interviews with fans, things like that. I'm going to try to have him catch up with Miss Debbie, who's doing the Faithful Flag Adventures. If you guys are going to be there, make sure you guys check her out as well. Top Hat Debbie, great person, love her to death. She'll have the Faithful Flag there. Check her out, check that out. Make sure if you're there and you want to check out Anthony from MB9 Niners will be there. Get up with him. Do an interview. We're going to go live also from there. But other than that, guys, make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button. Make sure you set your notifications for tonight's show so you know when we're going live. And other than that, I have nothing else. So prepare for glory.
Anticipate pain.
But always remain faithful. We out of here. Peace.